Hello readers, I'm Amy. Today we are going to do another Book It or Book It. This one's for July. If you haven't watched these videos before, Book It or Book It is what I recently named my kind of monthly haul, anti-haul sort of video. Book it as in schedule it, get it, make it happen, or book it as in run away. So we are going to look at some July books and we're either going to book it or we're going to book it. Could I be any cornier? This is going to be a longer episode. I actually looked up a ton of books, and instead of taking pictures or screenshots on my phone like I usually would, I actually wrote notes and put release dates and everything. So we might be here for a minute. We are going to start off with Miss Karen Slaughter. Should I be talking about an author named Karen? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe there's a difference between Karen and Karen. Maybe it's all just Karen. I don't know. But anyways, Karen Slaughter, July 27th, False Witness, which just reminds me, I did not put these in order of release date. But whatever, I already started. July 27th, False Witness, Karen Slaughter. After a tumultuous childhood, Lee Colton has built a completely ordinary life as a defense attorney. When she lands a career-changing case defending a wealthy man accused of rape, she realizes that she knows him, and he knows what happened all those years ago. Now she must get him acquitted or risk losing everything. Sounds fascinating for those of you who like more thriller, mystery-type stories. This could be really great. I'm not sure if I'm going to read it. I've heard lots of great things about Karen Slaughter. The idea of her books really interests me. I had friend Demi, who has her own channel, tell me about Pretty Girls, and that sounded like something I would like to read, but also I hear that she can get really dark and gritty, and it might be a little beyond my comfort zone. So I don't know that I'll be picking this up, but for those of you who love Karen Slaughter, she's got a new book coming out. The Therapist by B.A. Paris. This is coming out July 13th. When Alice and Leo move into a gated community, they think their dreams have come true. Alice begins to feel a strong connection to Nina, the therapist who used to live there. Quickly, Alice becomes obsessed with figuring out what happened to Nina, for no one in the neighborhood wants to talk about her. I love a good neighborhood secrets book. This sounds super interesting. Actually, it probably wouldn't have even gotten on my list of things to talk about if it didn't sound at least somewhat interesting, but whatever. It's my video, so. Then we have China Room by Sanjeev Sahota, which is out on July 13th. In 1929, 3 brides are married to 3 brothers in a single ceremony in rural Punjab. The women are kept isolated except when their mother-in-law takes them out at night. Mehar is determined to discover which of the 3 brothers is her husband, a task that will lead to lasting consequences. Years later, the great-grandson of one of the women returns to India hoping to recover from his drug addiction. So it sounds like it's going to be a multi-generational story, which definitely has me interested. I love a good multi-generational storyline, following a family down as their lives go through. It just, something about it really works for me. I haven't read, I'm guessing Sanjeev Sahota is an Indian author. I haven't read many Indian books that I've really liked so far. They tend to be really slow-paced, at least the ones that I have read. Nonetheless, it is a book that I am very interested in checking out. I want to look into the background of this more, because with 3 brides married to 3 brothers and not knowing which one you're married to, it almost sounds like it might be inspired by an Indian fairy tale, so I'm going to look into that a bit. She Who Became the Sun. This is out on July 20th. It's by Shelley Parker Chan. In 1345, going way back here, 2 children of the Zhu family are given opposite destinies. For the boy, greatness. For the girl, nothingness. Honestly, sounds like your typical patriarchal destiny. After her brother dies, the girl takes on his identity, joining the monastery and aiding in the rebellion against the Mongols, a bold, queer reimagining of the rise of the Ming Dynasty, perfect for fans of historical fantasy. I don't read a ton of historical books. I don't read very much fantasy, but I really want to pick this up. It's kind of got Mulan vibes. I'm saying that because Mulan is the story similar to this that I am interested in. I am just finishing up my world history class, and I like to think that I've learned a little bit more about world history, but before reading this, I'm definitely going to look more into the Ming Dynasty. That's something that I came across when I was reading The Three-Body Problem, the very first book, is that it starts off with a lot of Chinese political history that I just wasn't familiar with. So definitely look into the history of a story that you're reading before you start the story if it is a country that you are not very familiar with. Otherwise, you're not really going to enjoy the book that much because you'll just be very, very confused. If you're like me. I mean, I'm kind of assuming some things there. But next book, I obviously already bought this like 3 months ago, or pre-ordered it. I'm not sure if Hillary from Melted Books has pre-ordered it, but I told her if you get the book whenever it comes out, we'll do a buddy read. So I might be doing a buddy read in July because Grady Hendrix on July 13th has the Final Girl support group. I have been looking forward to this since his last book came out last year, and I got it in the middle of quarantine and I ate it up and I loved it, and I'm so excited for this. I am waiting for July 13th and for that book to arrive in the mail. And if it's not here on July 13th, then I'll probably go out and buy a copy, and maybe my copy will get here on July 14th. I don't know, but I want to read that book immediately. Lynette Tarkington is a real-life final girl who survived a massacre. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other final girls and their therapist in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, working to put their lives back together. Then, one woman misses a meeting, and their worst fears are realized. Someone knows about the group and is determined to rip their lives apart again, piece by piece. So, yeah, I've gotten more into horror lately. I finally understand, like, the final girl trope, and I think Grady Hendrix is a huge part of getting me interested in horror stories, and I'm so excited to read that book. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Then we have The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. This is coming out on July 6th. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick this up. This is a kind of memoir, short story sort of book. I think it's following along the same lines as Reasons to Stay Alive and what was this other book that I read about depression and anxiety? I think it's gonna go with that and just kind of be a companion novel to those. I liked both of them, but I feel like if you've read one, you don't need to read the other. So The Comfort Book for me would probably be a little repetitive, but if you haven't read either of those books, I would definitely pick it up. I think Matt Haig is a wonderful author who has really great things to say about depression and anxiety. The Sinful Lives of Trophy Wives, Kristen Miller. This is out July 20th. I put this on here just because of the name. The idea of the trophy wife is fascinating. Sinful Lives of Trophy Wives, that sounds like you're gonna watch Housewives or something, which I've never actually watched, but it sounds interesting nonetheless. Mystery writer Brooke Davies is the new wife on the block. Her tech billionaire husband, Jack, 22 years her senior, wow, whisked her to the Bay Area via private jet and purchased a modest mansion on the same day. What does a modest mansion look like? Never mind. He demands perfection, and before now Brooke has had no problem playing the role of a doting housewife. But as she befriends other wives on the street and spends considerable time away from Jack, he worries if he doesn't control Brooke's every move, she will reveal the truth behind their perfect marriage. Aaron King, famed news anchor and chair of the community board, is no stranger to maintaining an image, though being married to a plastic surgeon helps. But the skyrocketing success of her career has worn her love life thin, and her professional ambitions have pushed Mason away, quitting her job as a Hail Mary attempt at keeping him interested to steer him away from finding a young trophy wife. But is it enough? And is Mason truly the man she thought he was? This is about trophy wives, so probably not, I'm guessing. Georgia St. Clair allegedly cashed in on the deaths of her first 2 husbands, earning her the nickname Black Widow, and the stares and whispers of her curious neighbors. Rumored to have murdered both men for their fortunes, she claims to have found true love in her 3rd marriage, yet her mysterious, captivating allure keeps everyone guessing. Then a tragic accident forces the residents of Presidio Terrace to ask, has Georgia struck again? And what is she really capable of doing to protect her secrets? I think this sounds interesting in a reality TV way. I do love whenever you're jumping from multiple different perspectives. I think that keeps the book really interesting. So I'll see what people say about it. Maybe I'll pick it up. 6 Crimson Cranes. This was a book cover pick for me because I think that cover artwork is gorgeous. This was written by Elizabeth Lim and it is coming out on July 6th. I'm going to take a guess at this name. I am probably going to say it wrong. If you know how to say it, please correct me in the comments below. Shiori Anma, the only princess of Kyoto, has a secret. Forbidden magic runs through her veins. Normally she conceals it well, but on the morning of her betrothal ceremony, Shiori loses control. At first her mistake seems like a stroke of luck, forestalling the wedding she never wanted. But it also catches the attention of Reikama, her stepmother. A sorceress in her own right, Reikama banishes the young princess, turning her brothers into cranes. She warns Shiori that she must speak of it to no one, for with every word that escapes her lips, one of her brothers will die. Penniless, voiceless, and alone, Shiori searches for her brothers and uncovers a dark conspiracy to seize the throne. Only Shiori can set the kingdom to rights, but to do so she must place her trust in a paper bird, a mercurial dragon, and the very boy she fought so hard not to marry. And she must embrace the magic she's been taught all her life to forswear, no matter the cost. That sounds awesome. Judging from the cover, I'm going to say this is probably a YA book, so I'm like a little hesitant to pick it up. The writing of YA books just doesn't always work for me, but this story sounds really interesting. So if people have good things to say about it, I might end up putting this on my list. Also, like, if she can't speak through the entire book, I think that'll make it just really fascinating and kind of high stakes. So I'm interested to see what people make of that. Next up, we have a memoir by Danny Trejo. If I'm correct in thinking this, I believe he's the actor that plays Machete. Don't come for me because I never watched Machete movies. I just know the guy's face. But regardless, he's coming out with a book on July 6th. Trejo, My Life of Crime, Redemption, and Hollywood. So on screen, Danny Trejo, the actor, is a baddie who's been killed at least 100 times. He's been shot, stabbed, hanged, chopped up, squished by an elevator, and once was even melted into a bloody goo. Off-screen, he's a hero beloved by recovery communities and obsessed fans alike. But the real Danny Trejo is much more complicated than the legend. I would say be careful going into this book. It looks like it is going to discuss kind of an abusive past that he has. And like I said, I have never watched any of his movies, really. Well, none of the Machete movies. I've seen a couple of movies that he's been in now that I'm watching horror a little bit more. But regardless, I am interested in picking this up, and I feel like it's one my husband might like to read as well, since he has seen a lot of his movies, so keep an eye out for that one, especially if you're a fan of the actor. This next one, I watch a lot of Emily Fox. She's like one of the only sci-fi heavy booktubers that I really watch or I'm aware of. She's been so excited for Becky Chambers. She always talks about all the Becky Chambers books. I was fine with To Be Taught If Fortunate. Like, it was interesting. It wasn't necessarily super plot heavy, but Becky Chambers has another book coming out for those of you who love her. It's out on July 13th, A Psalm for the Wild Built. It's been centuries since the robots of Earth gained self-awareness and laid down their tools. Centuries since they wandered en masse to the wilderness, never to be seen again. Centuries since they faded into myth and urban legend. One day, the life of a tea monk is upended by the arrival of a robot, there to honor the old promise of checking in. The robot cannot go back until the question of what do people need is answered. But the answer to that question depends on who you ask and how. They're going to need to ask it a lot. I might pick this up. I think it's supposed to be a novella, so it'll be shorter. I do believe that the main character is like a non-binary robot, so definitely some queer representation in that. I believe she has queer representation in all of her books, which is awesome. And from what I read in To Be Taught If Fortunate, it's a kind of representation that's just there, like it is in anyone's life. It's not part of the plot or the storyline, it's just part of the character. and there doesn't need to be a big reveal with it or anything. And I love when that happens, because that's how life is. Like, you're just a person. Your gender or sexuality doesn't have to be the sole factor determining your life. You know what I mean? But anyways, queer representation, awesome. Might check it out. Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. This is coming out July 6th. I wonder if the title of this book totally spoiled the ending. Although we know everybody will die someday, so. Way to be morbid. Gilda, a 20-something atheist, animal-loving lesbian, cannot stop ruminating about death. Desperate for relief from her panicky mind and alienated from her repressive family, she responds to a flyer for free therapy at a local Catholic church and finds herself being greeted by Father Jeff, who assumes she's there for a job interview. Too embarrassed to correct him, Gilda is abruptly replaced to hire the recently deceased receptionist, Grace. In between trying to memorize the lines to Catholic Mass, hiding the fact that she has a new girlfriend, and erecting a dirty dish tower in her crumbling apartment, Gilda strikes up an email correspondence with Grace's old friend. She can't bear to ignore the kindly old woman who has been trying to reach her friend through the church inbox, but she also can't bring herself to break the bad news. Desperate, she begins impersonating Grace via email. But when the police discover suspicious circumstances surrounding Grace's death, Gilda may have to finally reveal the truth of her mortifying existence. I really want to read that, and that is going on my list. Impersonating someone and trying to memorize the lines of Catholic Mass. That, I know nothing about Catholicism, but I'm assuming that would be a lot of work. I think that sounds really fun. When I was looking at the book cover, I was thinking, oh, like, this seems like kind of a dark book. Cool, let's look into it more. In case you're wondering, a lot of these plot summaries I don't read the whole way through before talking about them, so that way I can still look interested on camera. But the plotline just seems a lot funnier than I was expecting, so definitely interested. Next we have Magma. This author's name is Thora. I am not going to say that last name. I don't know how to say it. I don't know the sounds of this language, and I think it would be very disrespectful of the person to even try. But regardless, Magma is coming out July 13th. Congrats, Thora, on this gorgeous, gorgeous book cover. 20-year-old Lilia is in love. As a young university student, and I'm guessing on a lot of the names here, as a young university student, she is quickly smitten with the intelligent, beautiful young man from school who quotes Derrida and reads Latin and cooks balanced vegetarian meals. Before she even realizes, she's moved in with him, living in his cramped apartment, surrounded by sour towels and flat Diet Cokes. As a newfound intimacy of sharing a shower and a bed fuels her desire to please her partner, his quiet and perversive manipulations start to unravel her. In an era of pornification, his acts of nearly imperceptible abuse continue to mount as their relationship develops. Lilia wants to hold on to him, take care of him, and be the perfect lover, but in order to do so, she gradually lets go of her boundaries and concurrently starts to lose her sense of self. I think you should be super careful with reading this. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of abuse and gaslighting. I'm still intrigued to read it, especially where it says in an era of pornification. That term really interests me. I studied sex academically in my first round of college. I find it a fascinating subject. That makes me want to pick this up. I think this could also be a really great group discussion book. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that. And if lots of people read it, we will have an easier time Googling how to say that last name. Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. This comes out on July 20th. In this blazingly smart and voracious debut, an artist turned stay-at-home mom becomes convinced she's turning into a dog. An ambitious mother puts her art career on hold to stay home with her newborn son, but the experience does not match her imagination. 2 years later, she steps into the bathroom for a break from her toddler's demands, only to discover a dense patch of hair on the back of her neck. In the mirror, her canine suddenly looks sharper than she remembers. Her husband, who travels for work 5 days a week, casually dismisses her fears from faraway hotel rooms. As the mother's symptoms intensify and her temptation to give in to her new dog impulses peak, she struggles to keep her alter canine identity a secret. Seeking a cure at the library, she discovers a mysterious academic tome which becomes her Bible, a field guide to magical women, a mythical ethnography, and meets a group of mothers involved in a multi-level marketing scheme who may also be more than what they seem. This story sounds like it's going to have a lot of layers, and again, I think it would be really great for like a book club group discussion. I might actually get a hold of some of my friends and see if we can just do like a group read on this. Because you have a mom who's transforming, which could stand for a lot of things. You have multi-level marketing, you have a book about magical women. Rachel, Femme Reads with Rachel. If you're watching this video, leave a comment down below. Would you want to read this? Because this sounds like one that we could read together. Like, I want to know what you have to say about this book. Let me know. Rabbit Hole by Mark Billingham comes out July 22nd. They were meant to be safe on Fleet Ward. The psychiatric patients monitored, treated, cared for. But now one of their number is found murdered, and the accusations begin to fly. Was it one of his fellow patients, a member of staff, or did someone come in from the outside? DC Alice Armitage is methodical, tireless, and she's quickly on the trail of the killer. The only problem is, Alice is a patient too. Sounds interesting. I do like the idea of this kind of psychological mystery happening in a psychiatric ward and also being solved by a psychiatric patient. I really like the idea of that. I'm going to keep an eye out and see what people say on that one. The Murder Box by Olivia Kiernan, out on July 8th. I picked this book because it's called The Murder Box. I want to know what's in the murder box. I want to know if it's like an escape room in a box, or if it's like a box with a knife and a rope in it. I don't know. At first, Detective Chief Superintendent Frankie Sheehan believes the murder mystery game sent to her office is a birthday gift from one of her colleagues. But when Frankie studies the game's contents, she notices a striking resemblance between the murder victim and missing 22-year-old Lydia Callan. As Frankie and her team investigate, a series of grisly crimes connected to the game are discovered across Dublin City, and Lydia's involvement with a shadowy network of murder mystery players becomes clear. On the hunt for Lydia's murderer, Frankie is drawn more deeply into the game. Every successful move brings her closer to the killer. But the real question is not what happens should she lose, but what happens if she wins. This reminds me of those like murder mystery subscription boxes. Hunt a Killer, that's what I'm thinking of. Hunt a Killer that like sponsors a lot of Bailey Sarian's videos. That's kind of what this reminds me of. Like if a bunch of people got together online to do Hunt a Killer, and then ends up it was actually about someone who recently died. So, intrigued. The Startup Wife by Tamima Anam, out on July 13th. Newlyweds Asha and Cyrus build an app that replaces religious rituals and soon find themselves running one of the most popular social media platforms in the world. Meet Asha Ray. Brilliant coder and possessor of a pie tattoo, Asha is poised to revolutionize artificial intelligence when she is reunited with her high school crush, Cyrus Jones. Cyrus inspires Asha to write a new algorithm. Before she knows it, she's abandoned her PhD program, they've exchanged vows, and gone to work at an exclusive tech incubator called Utopia. The platform creates a sensation, with millions of users seeking personalized rituals every day. Will Cyrus and Asha's marriage survive the pressures of sudden fame, or will she become overshadowed by the man everyone is calling the new Messiah? This one, I am not that interested in the story of The Startup Wife, but I would be really interested to learn more about an app that replaces religious rituals. Like, that sounds interesting, and I'm curious to know what the author means by that, but the actual romance, I just don't feel like I would be that interested in. Last book we have here is by the author of Cinderella is Dead. Again, I saw that really making the rounds on BookTube, so I think there's going to be a lot of people watching this who decide to pick that up. This is by Kaylin Bayron. It is out on July 15th. Briseis has a gift. She can grow plants from tiny seeds to rich blooms with a single touch. When Briseis' aunt dies and wills her a dilapidated estate in rural New York, Bree and her parents decide to leave Brooklyn behind for the summer. Hopefully there, surrounded by plants and flowers, Bree will finally learn how to control her gift. But her new home is sinister in ways they could never have imagined. It comes with a specific set of instructions, an old-school apothecary, and a walled garden filled with the deadliest botanicals in the world that can only be entered by those who share Bree's unique family lineage. When strangers begin to arrive on their doorstep, asking for tinctures and elixirs, Bree learns she has a surprising talent for creating them. One of the visitors is Marie, a mysterious young woman who Bree befriends, only to find that Marie is keeping dark secrets about the history of the estate and the surrounding community. There is more to Bree's sudden inheritance than she could have imagined, and she is determined to uncover it, until a nefarious group comes after her in search of a rare and dangerous immortality elixir. Up against a centuries-old curse and the deadliest plant on Earth, Bree must harness her gift to protect herself and her family. If you love Cinderella is Dead, you're probably going to like this. I'm guessing it's based on some sort of fairy tale, I would think. But regardless, this was another cover pick for me because, again, this cover artwork is gorgeous. Don't know that I'm going to pick this up. It doesn't really sound like it's to my taste. But a lot of these sound so interesting. I should go before I mispronounce any other fairly simple words. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that there is a book coming out in July that you are super, super excited for. So please like, subscribe, be my friend on social media, join me for next month's Book It or Book It, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, friends.